Far off the eastern coast of Lustria, deep beneath the waves of the Great Ocean, lies the wreck of the Siren's Gaze, an undead ship that set sail from the Vampire Coast with some rather precious cargo. The Lord of the Deeps ensured she never made her destination. Stromfels the Wrecker, god of the sea and sworn enemy of Manon, or Aspect depending on who you ask, laid claim to this derelict vessel and sent his best and brightest to scavenge it for parts. The sons of Stromfels are not to be trifled with, and neither is Aranessa Saltspite, the daughter of the Tides. Together, they've got a civil war to contend with here, as Count Noctilus and the Dreadfleet just showed up from the Galleon's graveyard, hungry for the loot and plunder that awaits inside the wreckage. See what happens when the Sharkmen of Stromfels and the undead of the Vampire Coast clash in a battle of eternal tides. Now I know what you're thinking. Does this stuff actually exist in Warhammer Fantasy lore? And the answer is yes, but as with many minor references over the last 30 years, these flesh-eating abominations aren't exactly well fleshed out themselves. There are references here and there, minor lore blurbs and cameo appearances, but nothing super concrete outside the lore of the sea gods themselves. With that said, De Laguna has created the foundation for this faction of Stromfels, and for now, they make their home amongst the pirates of Sartosa, led by their queen, Aranessa Saltspite. They've got Sharkmen cannoneers with artillery welded to their fins, got frontliners armed with anchors and barnacle-encrusted cutlasses, hammerhead shock troops, and even some single-entity reapers that vomit corrosive acid across the battlefield. So they've got a lot going for them, and they look awesome. As we've said many times over the last several years, modding continues to evolve, and each time someone comes up with a new faction, it seems to just get better and better. I don't believe this new race is done at the moment. There's still a bit of jank, as we'll see a few times throughout the course of this replay, but overall, they are looking awesome, and they're really fun to play, which is really the whole point of modding. And of course, big shout out to Waka Waka 3000 for the gorgeous custom map as well. So Aranessa will be equipped with her Spearfisher's Net. She's with a vampire fleet captain of the Lore of Deeps, Crab Summons, and Van Geist's Revenge to unleash in the depths outside Lustria. A lot of Sharkmen, pretty much entirely shark-themed build. Few crabs here and there, but for the most part, it's going to be all about these bad boys. Honestly, this shit reminds me of Street Sharks, if you remember that from the 90s. If you had a childhood, I don't know, was that Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon? Either way, that show was absolutely bananas. Cartoon with a bunch of angry sharks on rollerblades. And we got Mournghouls over on the Count Noctilus side of things. The Dreadfleet is coming in hot and heavy. They've got Mournghouls Vanguard deployed, sneaking around the flanks, trying to get in and around behind. Carronades in the front. Death Guard, the Bloody Reavers. These are Count Noctilus elite Death Guard troops, vampiric halberds, with a lot of armor piercing and that ward save innately built in. And then we've got the Big Chungus Squad, the first ever look at ogres in Total War Warhammer. Perhaps not the form they'd choose if they could do it all again, but the bloated, corrupted, animated hulks provide some mass and punching power at a cheap price. It's not really an underwater battle if you don't have Necrophex Colossus stomping around, so Count Noctilus will direct troop movements from the Crow's Nest on high, dropping pinpoint accurate artillery fire, and generally blowing lots of stuff up with his Gundam and support from the deck gunners on each flank. So, as you'd expect from any Vampire Coast build, lots of firepower, but that added additional utility that comes from the Mournghouls and their ability to stalk. So they will be moving silently through the water on the flank, ready to make some noise when their ambush is sprung, and they get in and amongst the Sharkmen cannoneers. So this is a huge map. It's actually built for 4v4. So the deployments are maybe a little bit too small for that, but in a 1v1 large unit cap battle, 40 unit cap, yeah, there's a lot of space to maneuver here, and the cannoneers will get things started with a bit of explosive barrage, and they're dabbing on these hoes. It's a hilarious animation, and a powerful one too. So the thing with the cannoneers is they only have one volley, so they better make it count. They can't reload the damn things. They don't have enough hands to be carrying cannonballs around and still punch things up in melee, so they get the one volley, and it is a devastating one. They deal quite a bit of damage, and then they close in with their barnacle-encrusted cutlasses and go to work in CQB. So the opening barrage, pretty powerful, dealing a couple of thousand damage to each of these zombie units, and that'll create a little bit more space for the single entity Hammerhead to start vomiting across the battlefield as well. So here it comes. Yeah, this part I'd say is a little bit jank, but it's fun as hell And the Hammerhead is just gonna start vomiting like a sorority girl during rush week. Can't keep it down. But this is some hardcore projectile spewing. Melting faces and exploding formations of zombie pirates. Doesn't have a lot of ammo. That 400 or whatever it says is a bit misleading because it runs out of volleys in only a minute or so of uninterrupted shooting. But it can lay waste to unarmored troops, and for some reason blows chunks like a machine gun. It has really fast fire rate. So Noctilus is doing the same thing to the Sharkmen on the other side of the wreckage. Got a bit of an artillery duel brewing in the opening stages of this one, and the Cutlasses are out. They're into melee combat now, and we'll see how well the Sharkmen fare in CQB. I mean, they're roided to the gills, quite literally. Look at how jacked these guys are. They're absolutely insane. It looks like they've hit the gym and taken multiple treatments of anabolic steroids over the course of their miserable lives. They've also got vicious teeth that can swallow a man whole, and they've got boarding swords that can chop a man in half. So, yeah, I think they're doing just fine there against zombies, but if you know anything about the Vampire Coast, is that they can hold out pretty long just by throwing body after chaff after chaff after zombie summon your way. So, we'll see if the traditional Vampire Coast tactics apply here and do well against the Sons of Stromfels. Carronades opening up, and one thing about the Sons of Stromfels, well, most of them are monstrous infantry or monsters, so they are very susceptible to cannon fire with those big hitboxes, susceptible to the bonus versus large of the Bloody Reaver Depth Guard and the rest of these handgunners. So getting rid of them, pretty important. Gonna dab on some more hose, drop them with the cannoneers from downtown, exploding the front ranks of zombies, and looks like the Pirates of Sartosa are doing well on this side of the battlefield. One thing you'll notice about the Hammerhead single entities is they have some mass problems. I don't know what it is, but they get knocked over a lot, and one handgun volley will make them shudder all the way back about 25-30 feet, and that will continue every time they take a volley. So it can take them a while before they get where they want to go. It's a problem when the unit is very much dependent on its positioning to get those good corrosive bile shots in. The Cannoneers, they've been a very versatile unit up to this point, able to take out the first ranks of zombies from range, and then closing into melee with those barnacle-encrusted cutlasses. And the Reaper is here. The Hammerhead finally made it in, and he's dropping the scythe on some zombo heads. So it looks like the Pirates of Sartosa should be able to push through on that side, but over here, well, Noctilus is reaping a terrible toll in and amongst their ranks with all that gunpowder, all that firepower from downtown. For some reason, the Hammerheads have Frostbite. I think there are, as I said, this is not a finished faction. I think there are some placeholder abilities in. I'm not sure if the Vomit will stay. I'm not sure if the Frostbite Contact will stay. I don't know if it has anything to do with the lore whatsoever, but it's working so far. The Frostbite will slow down these animated Hulks. They're fighting in a monstrous infantry duel, and a Van Geist Revenge coming out, trying to catch the handguns as they move forward, but that ghostly apparition rising from the flank will miss everything. The zombies retreating, well spotted from the armies of the Dreadfleet. Here comes the Bloody Reaver, vampiric halberds with a mean streak a mile wide. They've got the hunger for some diced up sashimi. They're ready to boil up some shark fin soup, which is an absolutely terrible dish to partake in on Earth, but suits underwater vampires just fine in the Warhammer world, and with their Enrage ability, which gives them a 44% ward save, they should be able to hold out against any number of Sharkmen swarming their direction. Denizens of the Deep crab summon behind their lines, putting some pressure on the handguns and other ranged troops in the rear, and Aranessa needs to come up with some sort of game plan for getting rid of Noctilus and his bodyguards, because if they're allowed to do what they want to do and just sit there stabbing stuff and shooting things, well, they're going to be able to kill, like I said, pretty much any number of Sharkmen. So, need to get rid of these zombies, need to get rid of the summons, need to push into that back line and tie Noctilus down in CQB. Otherwise, that cannon will continue to explode lots and lots of Sharkmen. Fell Bats, the rear charge, routing off some cutlass-wielding shark troops on this side, and there, yeah, like that. What are you doing? What is that Vomiteer doing? A massive Hammerhead just got knocked over by zombies. What? I don't know what's up with the mass there, but there's definitely something wrong with it. We'll see even crazier examples of that a little bit later on in this particular video. Invocation of the Heck, keeping the Death Guard in the fight. Hunger isn't always enough. And that melee defense was plummeted all the way down to 0. Taunt from the Vampire Fleet Captain and the Spearfisher's Net from Aranessa's Assault Spite, dumpstering their melee defense all the way down to 0. And then the Stripper Pole is activated. Aranessa, she's working it well, putting on a show for her only pirates, and the Death Guard seem to be enjoying it, dropping lots of doubloons, sending a lot her way. They're simping in this underwater battle, and it looks like they're holding still. Invocation of the Heck has kept them healthy up to this point, and here comes the Morngul ambush from the rear. Out of nowhere, here they come. Not the most impressive charge, might have missed the attack order, but either way, they're now behind the Sharkmen, and they can go to work. That stalk ambush ended up working out quite nicely for the armies of the Dreadfleet. Another Denizens of the Deep summon, Rotting Prometheans moving towards the Carronades. Now they're under control, and they'll start blowing up some cannons and finally shut down that artillery piece for good. Somehow only managed to fire like 1/3 of its ammunition. I'm not sure how that's possible. Bloody Reaver Death Guard are still alive in amongst just a whole host of undead bodies. And another cannon swarm coming down from Count Noctilus, this time on the crab, on the Vampire Fleet Captain. It's gonna hurt. She can't really dodge that spell. More Stripper Pole action. I think Aranessa's animations, especially her sync kills, are some of the best in the game. You guys missed it, but there was a time in early access where Aranessa could four-shot any lord in the game. In between the time we got Vampire Coast and could show it off to you guys, and the time that it actually went live for everybody, Aranessa could kill any lord in the game in about 20 seconds flat. It was insane. Because the Stripper Pole animation, she would attack 4 or 5 times in a single attack. And just Kolek, Archaon, whatever, they all just disappear completely with that animation. It was really funny to watch. The crab just taken out by handguns. The Vampire Fleet Captain destroyed by some close-range handgun volleys. No more spellcasting for the Pirates of Sartosa. No more spellcasting for the Sharkmen of Stromfels. We'll see if maybe they get their own Lore of Magic at some point. That would be a very nice addition, I think. Felbat just crumbled out, but the handguns are on top of the hill, and they're firing down. Let's see if these juggernauts, the elite shock troops of the Sons of Stromfels, can move up this hilltop, D-Day style, charge into the teeth of the enemy defense through all this firepower, and shut down the range play for good. Melkoth's Mystifying Miasma won't make that approach any easier, slowing them down to 28 speed, and the handgun volleys are hurting bad. Man, they have slowed to a crawl. They are barely moving, and they might rout before they're able to shut down this handgun unit. It's a epic charge uphill, but many of their number being slaughtered on the approach, decapitated and bisected on the way in. And here come the Mornghuls. Yep, that's going to be a fear rout very soon. And well played from the Dreadfleet there. So this battle is still neck and neck. Balance Board is pretty much dead even. We're about 9 minutes in and doesn't seem to be slowing down. Still tons of action. Both armies are in tatters, but the most important troops from both sides outside the Vampire Fleet Captain are still alive. The 2 single entities for Aranessa's Assault Spite, and of course herself with her Spearfisher's Net, they're still healthy. She's in a kind of precarious position, but Noctilus can't hit her very easily. And the Death Guard, well, they aren't great at killing foot single entities. They're much better against monsters if they can engage something like that. So if the Death Guard can get on top of some of these vomiters, that would definitely be a good use for them. But I think at this point, yeah, their HP bar is super low, and they won't be able to do enough anyway. So Spearfisher's Net, minus 27 melee defense for Count Noctilus on his Necrofax Colossus. Single entity on this side, a Vomiter being knocked over by animated hulks all day long. Can't seem to get any attacks in melee, and that's probably fair considering how much damage the Vomit does from range and how fast it fires. And that will finish out the Death Guard. To be fair, they only had like 200 HP at this point, so not really surprising, but yeah, they're gonna crumble out, and that gave Aranessa the space she needed to escape from a pretty scary situation. So now Aranessa and the Hammerhead Vomiter about to duel Count Noctilus, and let's see how this goes. This should be interesting. The Shark about to get pegged. Aranessa about to do some pegging herself, and we'll see if that's enough to bring down this monstrous single entity. Count Noctilus is no joke in melee, and he's got some zombie summons to boot. Whenever a Necrofax Colossus drops low, they can just poop out some rotted crew members and give them a little bit of space to either escape or help them in their duels. Animated Hulks and the Hammerheads fighting. And the Animated Hulks have never been amazing in terms of pure melee potential, but they only cost 750, so pretty cost efficient. They've got good AP, they just don't have great melee attack or melee defense, and it looks like they're gonna lose their duel with the Hammerheads, but I think the Titus Skjold might be able to push those Hammerheads. Oh my god! The Vomiter just went for a ride on the Funky Town train. Morgul's just he's got Al Gorbel syndrome. That's really what it comes down to. He's got the same mass issues that Al Gorbel has, but they might even be worse here. He just went flying because of a Morgul charge. He's bigger than Morgul. This one's knocked over too. Oh, it's getting embarrassing for the Vomiters. They've actually been fantastic this game, but in terms of their mass, yeah, there's clearly some kind of issue because they're just being bullied. Oh god, he got not. It's basically Palpatine, man. It's a very common trope and meme at this point, but honestly, that is very much an Anakin, I'm too weak thing. I know Turin does it all the time, but that's seriously what that is. These sharks are too weak. A zombie summon walks over and touches his ankle, and he goes, "Oh, I'm too weak, Anakin." Falls over, and it's getting embarrassing. It's getting embarrassing for the Vomiters. I don't know what to say about them. They're the only thing left. They've been great. They've still got plenty of HP. They've done tons of damage, but they just can't stay on their 2 feet. Morgul's with a full surround on Aranessa's Assault Spite. She is in big trouble, but so is Count Noctilus. That bonus versus large, which he's been giving. Oh, he's on his ass again. He's on his ass again. We'll double fast forward this because this grind will take a little bit here. Oh, he went flying again. Let's get a counter. Let's get a counter going, see how many times he gets knocked over between now and the end of the game. This one, trying to get into melee with the handguns, but just can't do it. So he's gonna say screw it and just use whatever ammunition he has left. He'll go for the vomit play instead. Only 37 kills on him, but yeah, the handguns themselves, look at how far he's getting sent backwards. Now, to be fair, I wouldn't necessarily hate this kind of thing for handgun volleys. If you get a full handgun volley, it should slow down even a Shaggoth, even a Dreadsaurian. But yeah, he's having some problems over there. Nice vomit attack. A couple more of those might be able to finish those handguns off for good, in which case he wouldn't have to go into melee. Noctilus died. Count Noctilus has fallen. Aranessa is also out of the picture at this point. She's routing, and the Morguls will not allow her to return to the fold. The balance war is in favor of the Sons of Stromfels and the Sharkmen of Sartosa. But this battle is really damn close. We're 16 minutes in, and not a lot of HP left on either side. Aranessa falls, eaten alive, cannibalized by the Wendigos of the Vampire Coast. That shark is further away now than he was when he started. Each volley sending him backwards, like I said, about 15 to 30 feet. Every single time they fire. Finally, they crumble out. And now, we'll double fast forward it till the end. The Morguls cannot take on these two sharks, and they will carry the day. So, from a pure balance perspective, clearly the Vomiters have a handful of issues. One is that their mass seems really low. They're able to get sent flying from anything, even zombies, which is weird. I don't think I've seen that for any other monster in Total War Warhammer. So that might need a little bit of looking into. And I think the projectile speed and fire rate for the Vomit might need some toning down as well. Now, he got 300 kills, which is awesome. 3 chevrons earned. Very good damage value at 2,400, but it wasn't actually shocking damage value. You look at Aranessa, I mean, she's at 3,900. Almost 4,000 damage value on her. That was from dueling the Depth Guard, the Bloody Reavers, and from Count Noctilus. A lot of the sharks did well. The Hammerheads were great. 107 kills, 149 kills. Of course, a lot of these will be inflated. Count Noctilus, I mean, he got 1,000 more damage value than even the best Vomiter on the Sons of Stromfels side. In fact, a lot of units got pretty close to the same damage value that those Sons of Stromfels did. So, I do think the projectile vomit speed and all of that is a little bit extra. I'm not sure it's required that it have so much range, so much speed, and such amazing fire rate. But overall, I'd say the Sharks, besides the Vomiters, are pretty well balanced. At least from this one battle. It's kind of hard to have a good perspective on balance. But, I mean, that was a close game. That was a fun game. A great showcase for the Sons of Stromfels. Very cool looking models. Very cool looking animations. And I love the Cannoneers. They're my favorite unit from this mod pack by far. So, well played to the modders here. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. And plenty more content coming very soon.